Hello Tamers, sorry up again today. Well, it's that time again. And this time, we'll be doing another deck profile countdown towards release of Special Booster 2.5. And well, for the forerunner of this deck profile countdown will be one of the keystones of the Ex8 format, that being the Rock Mineral deck. And well, before we get into it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share this around to help with the algorithm. And well, let's crack into it. Starting off for the eggs, ends up being the standard fare for the Rock Mineral deck, being full playset of Ex8 Pyramidimon, with this egg being the mainstay for the deck, as ends up being your most memory efficient plays, as the whole new Storm Riza line focuses mainly on its inheritable sources being trashed by effects. And well, Pyramidimon being the mainstay, as it gains 1 memory whenever it's trashed from source. And that's it for the egg. Now on to our rookie lineup. And for my rookie lineup this time around, for this deck, ends up being still running the keystone of the deck, of Certain Reason one as its searcher, as well as being a floodgate remover, as its inherent when trashed gets to delete any play cost 4 or less. This also ends up paying some level 4s that also cost 4 to hard play. And then next to that, being full playset of Ex8 Gotsumon, as another piece to dig, also setting up pieces in trash, as well as granting blocker. And then to finish up for consistency tools, being 2 copies of BT16 Uko, just as a means to dig as well, but also setting up trash, as this ends up being a very nice way to set up Pyramidimons ahead of time to explosive plays by pretty much just throwing Uko into security just to get deleted as well as being able to memory choke turn 1 with that 1 cost memory. And then for flex spots, I end up bringing 2 copies of the Gatsu X, given that it ends up pairing really well for how the deck wants to play, as it ends up being a free Evo over the Gatsu to make use of, also granting the ability to unsuspend while your blocker Digimon during the opponent's turn if this deck remains on the field, but also grants a inheritable that's a blanket DP boost to all Digimon blocker, which pairs well with the Gatsu. Aside from that, other tech options that are seen within the deck to keep in archetype being the Ex7 Gotsumon for a blocker body and reboot inheritable, or for more tech choice being BT7 Dorumon for the only for the inherit, as well this whole deck does a lot of source adding by effects, so it proves more useful as another memory printer within the deck if need be. Well, that's it for the rookie lineups. Now on to level 4s. And for the most part, this ends up being a point where ends up being another make or break it. I'll make or break for the deck. As for me, I run full playset of Ex8 Landra and full playset of Promo Landra with the one-off copy of Ex8 Golemon. And it leaves no explanations as for this lineup, as well, Ex8 Landra is here to mainly cheat out close from hand to also establish tamers pretty early in the game, as well as being another 4 costs or less removal when trash from sources. While Promolandra here being the key player, as ends up being another digging tool, since you end up, well, playing into the deck's main game plan pretty early by trashing 1 card from source, to then top deck 3 to add any rock mineral trait from hand or put underneath itself as source, as well being another instance of the Digivolve when trash from source. While the one-off goalie here is just a one-off control piece that, although, well, it only gets triggered the Digivolve when it's hard played, when it's played out or deleted instead of being on Digivolve. But it's another piece that grants blocker to the stack. Obviously, another option that comes to mind would be one of the older Golemons that is, if memory recalls, is a 1 play cost, or 1 evil cost to make use of, adding more memory efficiency to the deck as a choice. And that's it for level 4s. Now on to level 5 lineup. And then for me, it ends up being a, 3 copies of Pyramidimon, a 2-2 split between the BT4 Gogmamon and the Ex8 Gogma, and the one of Cybermon Ace for the deck. For reasoning wise, Progna here is still useful given that's, the main lines of, the main line you want to follow, technically speaking. With it being able to, be pretty cheeky given that's a collision piercing body, and has the ability to potentially save itself from crashing from a crash with Fragment 3, ensuring that piercing goes through, and is another source that, when trashed, Digigol's 1. With the 2-2 split of Gogmas being quite more so along the lines of toolbox aspect, with the older Gogma being able to, Digiburst and make use of all the sources being trashed effects, while also granting quite big amounts of DP gain, since you get to trigger this as long as you have sources to trash. While the Ex8 Gogma here is also another piece of digging, as it can potentially replace itself on delete, as well as granting a redirect inheritable. While the one of Cybermon and Ace here is also more so to help the deck establish early game plays, as dropping this down, blasting into this allows you to establish, first dig, then potentially establish a Tamer on board to then Digivolve 1. And then if it remains on board, you also get to Digivolve as long as when this is under a stack. Granted, it ends up putting you into a risky situation if this is one of the cards you'd want to pitch away for fragment effects, since you'd still get hit with the overflow penalty. And that's it for the level 5s. Now on to level 6s. And for the most part, ends up being, with the main keystone being, the full playset of Pyramidimon as the main boss for the deck. As well, you pretty much get to really OTK with this deck, just because of Pyramidi constantly being able to, gradually gain Sec plus 1s and unsuspending after each attack. And those Sec plus 1s do stack. And even if you don't manage to take down your opponent, you still have the ability to, rebuild Pyramidi's stack, since at the end of the turn, you get to scoop back up 3 cards from source and be able to, protect Pyramid at least once with the Fragment. And to round out the level 6 lineup, ends up being the one copy of Seraphimon Ace to help with further control options, as dropping this down deals 3 on opposing opponent, and whenever anything gets redirected, it gets to hit a Digimon with minus 5000 DP every time. And then for, that's it for the level 6s. Although I don't really run level 7, another option for within the deck for another possible play ends up being the copy of Omnion Ultra B as another option within the deck. Since you pretty much can stack a stack to play into it. Since on Digivolve it Digivolves 1 opposing Digimon, and then you get to choose any of their Digimon up to a play cost of 6 to delete further control. And as for why I meant by stacking the stack, I actually quite meant it literally, as the deck does allow you to trigger Ultra B's when attacking effect, since you could stack multiple copies of Pyramidimon underneath Pyramidimon, as when you build a big stack to make it, for then to trigger Ultra B's effect to pretty much devastate the opponent's security, as well as attempt for game as well. But given that it's another off piece within the deck, I don't really run Ultra B, but still an option for the deck. And well, that's it for the Digimon. Now on to Tamer lineup. For the most part, I will go for a 3-4 split between the Ex8 close and then promo close. The Ex8 close being the main Tamer of the deck, in the fact that she allows you to, is the memory center of the deck, and is able to recycle 2 pieces from trash to underneath your stack whenever you Digivolve into Digimon. Well, promo close here is the standard gain memory when an opponent has a Digimon, and only can trigger when a effect trashes sources to then just replace it with another source as bomb source. With the promo close here being more so as for the memory gain passively during each turn, as well as being able to recycle at least 1 source. Well, that's it for Tamer lineup. On to the options. For the most part here, for utilities, I end up going for a 3-2-1 split for utility options. 3 with defense trainings, 2 black scrambles, and then black mem moves at 1. With defense training being one of the main parts of the deck to dig and also establish a faster evolution cost. While black scrambles here is also for faster evolution costs, but is also to recur pieces as well. And especially so, since if you use this, you are able to preferably bring out Gatsu or Sunriza for when you can play them out off of the delay or security, to then get benefits from their on plays. And then the 1 black mem boost, just to ensure an alternate memory gain option, as well as being able to dig slightly deeper. And then to round it off, I end up running 3 copies of Zafra Kabus, given that it's the main way to grant protection to your Pyramidimon stacks, As well, it ends up granting Pyramid the ability to also further control by granting collision and piercing, as well as being able to reboot itself, as well on top of the DP gain and protection from being bounced back to hand or deck. Though another option that has been floating around would actually be Breath of Gods for another defensive option, as well as protecting your Digimon from being bounced. Though, obviously, between the two, Zofrikov still beats it out, given that it ends up being an archetype, making it easier to search. Well, that's it for the deck itself. Now on to combos. And then going into combos, for the most part, your mulligan hand, you'd want to try and see range your searching rookies to start off with. Obviously, Sunriza, Gatsu in the back, or even Uko in the back, just to establish a rookie in the back, as obviously, with Gatsu and Sunriza being pretty much support, well, being support off of Uko coming out to then search and hatch. And from there, you'd also want to see your defense training in Black Memboost to establish consistency in the early game. And then from there, seeing either Landras and either closes to make use of them to establish your board pretty early. And then for the secondary priority being the rest of the line to pretty much climb up into the stack. Then from there, Black Scramble and Zofrikavis as other cards, well, as other tools for the deck. And then the rest of the lineup as more toolboxes for the game plan. Since, for the most part, this deck is, after all, a stack-based deck that sees a lot of combo play, given that you don't really have sources that stick. Since, for instance, Tumble, one of the earliest plays that sees a lot of benefit is a Uko over Tumble, then search, and then just sacrifice the Uko to then establish one Tumble in trash. Well, you already have a Tumble already hatched up and ready to go. That it may become a Gatsu or Sunriza, since for the most part, you have a lot of modularity within the deck. Since with the stack you create, especially with either closes on board, and especially in multiples, you get a lot of leeway in how the stack ends up. Since, for the most part, you just keep climbing up and create a Pyramidi stack that is practically up the gills with trashed inherits or inherited effects that synergize. Case in point being Ex8 Gatsu with Gatsu X inheritable to further DP climb. And well, with Pyramidi being the, as previously stated, the main OTK enabler of the deck. Since, whenever you swing, you pretty much get Sec +1 and unsuspend. And that's in each, well, for each amount of 3 sources you choose to trash. With both closes being able to enable combo plays, with multiple promo closes being able to trigger all at once to restack whenever you trigger. And then, well, Ex8 close being to gain whenever you climb up and evolve. But for the most part, ends up being the deck is pretty straightforward in the sense that you pretty much climb up and have sources established in trash to constantly put underneath, and then you pretty much swing, pretty much for game. And then additionally, given Pyramid's effect's own nature, you also can create other stacks just for it to be ammo pretty much for Pyramid's ability to multi-attack, since it isn't specifically locked to itself. But overall, this is a very fun deck, even if it sort of gets sidelined in the upcoming format. Though, given the nature of Close as a character within Liberators, I'd see we'd probably be seeing more support a little bit in the future, past BT21. But yep, that's it for my deck profile for the Rock Mineral deck. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this around. And this is Cyberjaw, signing off.